The people who suffer the most in war have been and forever will be. If you haven't seen already, please check out the Vladimir Putin interview. I think it's very informational, something that we should all understand of what's going on in the world around us.
If you really want to stop fighting, you need to stop supplying weapons. It will be over within a few weeks.
But in this interview, I believe that there is something that is absolutely missing. There's a key component to this that is absolutely missing and is not being talked about enough. And this is something that we have seen throughout ages. But individuals are not talking about this issue that it will cause so much problems for our future. Let's break this down for a second. Even before we go into that, let's think about this for a moment. If you don't know, Russian-Ukrainian war has been happening since February of 2022. And since that time, Russia has already occupied 25,000 square miles of land. 25,000 square miles of their land. That's about 11% of the land that Ukraine has. And just to put this into perspective, that's as if you're taking over Massachusetts, Connecticut, and New Hampshire all together combined. But at what cost? At what cost? Because 200,000 Russians have already died. 130,000 Ukrainians have also died. Millions of people, at least 9 million people, have been displaced from their homes, from their families, from where they live. $167 billion has been used by the Russian army. Over $75 billion was given to Ukraine by the US, and more is going to be given now. Ukraine is completely depleted of its reserve and its supplies. But what's the hidden cost? The hidden cost of all of this that no one seems to really talk about: our children, our youth. 503 kids have been killed. Innocent children have been killed during this war. Over 1,600 have also been injured, hurt in some way, shape, or form by the immediate effect of the Russian and Ukrainian war. But a lot of people are not necessarily talking about this specific issue. And this issue is not something that you're going to see right away, but this is something that's going to continuously perpetuate itself into our future. And we're talking about the mental health of the students and of the youth. This war has led to Ukraine having the largest exodus of refugees coming out of their country since World War II. Nearly a third of their citizens have had to leave the country in order for them to find safety, to find harbor, to find a place where they can live with peace. It's crazy, man. And among all of those refugees are millions, not thousands or hundreds, I'm talking about millions of children. And these children are exposed to violence, to guns, to family death, to starvation. And they're being succumbed to PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And you might be asking yourself the question, man, what does this all have to do with their children? Or how bad could this really be? What really does this look like for the children of Ukraine? What's the big issue? I want you to think about this for a second. A child, 5 years old, 7 years old, 10 years old with PTSD, they don't gripe with the normal day-to-day life that a child typically has. The ability to be in school and to be attentive to learning decreases tremendously because of PTSD, because of their mental health concerns. I mean, the simple activities of sports, play, having fun with friends, all of that is altered and broken down because of their experience, the negative experience that they're having from wars. When you've seen the effects of war, it absolutely changes the chemical brain of how they view every single thing that's happening around them. From normal, typical activities that you and I would say, oh, you know, this is fun, to also large activities where we would have more stress. They're experiencing stress at a higher level, anxiety at a higher level. The way that they connect to families and to communities will forever be strained because of the war that they have gone through. We're talking about millions of kids. Millions. And when you think about this, we're already talking about how in the USA and how in Canada, it is so difficult. Mental health practitioners, psychologists, therapists, everyone talks about the fact that it is not as accessible for people, for everyday people to be able to get the help that they need. And so I want you to think about this now as a refugee coming into this predicament. How are they supposed to have the finances to be able to fund their own opportunity to be able to connect with therapists, psychologists, unless there was some free programming that we know typically is never free? And now they're going to have to figure out a way for them to deal with their mental health concerns and the illnesses that may come due to the war that has affected them. And again, I really want to say this. And we talk about this a lot because, for instance, right now where there's a whole issue that's going on in education. I know I'm going a little bit off a rant and tangent right now, but there's always adults fighting, and there's always going to be children suffering. Children and youth are always the ones being hurt because of adults who can't seem to get their crap together. It's tiring. It's a shame. The UN's Children Fund has basically come out with a statistic that they believe about 1.5 million children coming from Ukraine are going to have severe depression, anxiety, and mental health concerns coming after this war. Are we okay with that? Are these statistics not bothering you? Is this okay for the cost of war? And we wonder why sometimes individuals have a hard time connecting with one another or feeling apathetic. I mean, imagine you're a child having to deal with all these issues, all these wars, all these problems. Your families are displaced, your families are dying. And mind you, I'm coming out with a video that you're really gonna want to see. So please subscribe to this channel because we're gonna talk about the effects of the Palestinian war, and I wouldn't even call it a Palestinian war. The Israel genocide that they're doing on Palestinians and the effect on children and youth. You're gonna want to see what is happening because I'm telling you right now, I've been doing some research and it is troubling. It's even worse than what I'm seeing with the Ukrainian war, and it's been going, only for a few months compared to 2 years? So you're gonna wanna make sure you subscribe to this channel so you know what's to come about this new study that's coming out with youth and children mental health regarding our children in Palestine. All these kids, everything is being disrupted. Their livelihoods are being disrupted, their education is being disrupted, their thought processes are being disrupted, the way that they live is being disrupted. We're talking about an absolute change in their whole paradigm, their whole view of life. This can truly bring a lot of apathetic feelings towards life, towards people, towards individuals around them. We're looking at a very tense situation. And when I looked at that video, and I'm waiting to see, I'm waiting to hear, I don't believe one time we heard anything that had to deal with the future and the youth, the children that are being affected through this Ukrainian and Russian war. And it's so sad because the people who suffer the most in wars have been and forever will be children. It's a truth. And it's an ugly truth. Tucker asked Putin for the reasons why he started this war, talked about his plans about ending the war, about the history behind Russia and Ukraine, and in all that discussion, children were just an afterthought. When is enough gonna be enough? That's why I'm here. That's why I do what I do. Because somebody has got to speak up.